Hi everyone, welcome back again to my YouTube channel. My name is Osireme, and in today's video we're going to be recreating this beautiful dress. It's very beginners friendly, and I just thought I've been really busy and I wanted to just come here and create something really quick for you guys. So if you're interested in this, keep on watching, and if you're still yet to subscribe to this YouTube channel, hit on the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so that when I upload my next video, you'll be the first to see it. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started with this tutorial. Alright guys, so these are the materials I'm going to be working with. I have my African print here, which is going to be the one I use for the bottom part, as you saw in the beginning of the video. You just need about 2 yards of this. I didn't even have up to 2 yards, so I'm just going to manage what I have. And then I have a black crepe and then a chantilly lace for the sleeve area. For the crepe, you just need about 1.5 yards, 2 yards as well, because this is actually a very simple one. Now, the crepe is what we are going to be using for the body. So I'm cutting out a part of it that will just be enough for the body part. So you want to make sure you check before you cut out. So once you're done cutting it out, you're going to go ahead and fold the fabric you have cut out into 2 equal halves first. Okay, fold it into 2 first, just like you see me doing like this. And then you're going to fold it again to make it a fold into 4. Okay, so once you do this, don't let the other fold get all the way to the end. So once you do this, just measure to check if this is enough to give you your hip measurement, because that's the biggest part of your body. If it's not enough, just go ahead and arrange your fold again, just so it's just enough. What you should have should be enough to give you your hip measurement and also some extras for allowance. So now I've done it, as you can see, and you see that my second fold doesn't get all the way to the end. This is because I'm cutting the front and the back pieces together. So I measured again from this second fold and I realize that it's just enough now, and this is just perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and iron out this fold. Note how my second fold did not get all the way to the end of the fabric. It should be about 1.5 or 2 inches away from the end of the fabric. So guys, the excess I left at the edge that the other fold did not get to is going to be our zipper allowance for the back. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead and trim off the excess that is here. You can see it's not well aligned, so that it's the same thing on both pieces. Just trim off any excess that you have there so that it looks neat. So like I said before, when you make your fold, make sure it looks like this, okay? So that you'll be able to use the other excess as your zipper allowance for the back. So once you're through with this, the next thing I want to go ahead and do now is from here to here. You can see that what I have is about 1.5 inch. That should be your zipper allowance, okay? Now, all the measurements you're going to be taking should be taken from the second fold, not from the zipper allowance fold. So I just went in by 3 inches for my neck width, and then I came down by 7 inches for my neck depth. This is going to be a V neckline, so I'm just going to connect the both of them like this with my neckline. Notice I took my measurement from the second fold, okay? Now, once you're through with this, from this second fold again, go in by half of your shoulder measurement and make a mark. Okay, and then I'm going to come down from that point by 1 inch for my shoulder slope, and I'm just going to connect this to the top of my neckline. So now from the shoulder here, the beginning line, I'm going to measure down to my bust point. Okay, still leaving the tape at that top, shoulder to bust point. I'll measure my shoulder to waist, and then lastly I'll measure my shoulder to hip. Now, this shoulder to hip here is just like where I want the Ankara to start from on this dress, okay? So I measured all of them, and then I'm just going to go ahead and draw straight lines across. Guys, once you're through with that, the next thing you want to do is from your shoulder slope, you're going to measure down to your armhole depth. And to get this, you divide your bust measurement by 6 and add 1.5 to what you get. For me, it is 7. So from that shoulder slope, I measure down 7. And I used it to draw a straight line across. And now from the shoulder slope, I connected a straight line as well to meet the new chest line that we got. Now remember, all our measurements are going to be taken from the second fold. So on this chest line, I marked my bust measurement divided by 4. And then on this shoulder that I drew down earlier, I divided what I have on this line into 2 equal halves. And I'm going to go in by ½ inch. So now to get my armhole curve, I'm going to connect from this middle to the top of my shoulder slope, and from the middle again to the point I drew earlier on the chest line, which is what I drew for my bust point measurement. Now once you're through with this, you're going to come down to the waist, my waist measurement divided by 4. I just marked it, but I'm going to be having a dart, so I added an extra 1 inch for that dart. Now coming to the hip line, I marked my hip measurement divided by 4. So what you would do is to join all your last points together, just like you see me doing like this. Okay, join all your last points together to give you your body shape. So you should have it looking like this. Note that we've not added any stitching allowance. So now I'll add 1.5 inch, about 1.5 inch for stitching allowances to the side, since we are drafting this directly on our fabric. And then at the bottom here, I'll just add about 1/2 inch. Okay, so just like this. So guys, once you're through with this, the next thing you're going to do is remember that this neckline that we've drawn is for the front. So for the back, I will just come down by 1 inch and just draw like a round neckline into the back like this. Just do it like I've done it. So now before you cut out anything, I would advise that you pin it down first, just so it doesn't move. You know how some fabric can actually move from position when you start cutting, so it's just best to pin it down first. So after pinning it down first, you will go ahead and cut out your round neckline, which is the back neckline, together. Okay, now when you're cutting the front, you just pick up only the front and cut out the V neckline for the front. Every other thing is going to be cut out together, as you see me doing like this, but only the neckline should be cut separately for the front and the back, which is what I showed you guys earlier. So you can see I've cut out the shoulder, I've cut out the armhole. We have already added stitching allowance to the side, so all I just have to do is cut following the allowances that we gave. So now after doing this, you're going to come to the waistline here and extend your line into the zipper allowance area, and then come in by 1/2 inch here. And then I'm going to just square this line up like this, just like you see me doing like this, and like this towards the bottom part. Now I'm going to be cutting off this excess. This is going to help prevent our zipper from bulging at the back later when we fix it. So basically this is all for the drafting of the upper part. So now this is going to be used to finish up the length of this dress, like you saw in the beginning of this video. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and cut out lining for these pieces. Alright guys, so this is the front piece. You can see I've cut out lining for it. So I'm going to be placing the lining on it, right sides facing each other. I'm using just a normal, I don't know what this lining is called. I think it's either MBG or MB4. I don't know what they call it, honestly. So I'm just going to go ahead and pin the neckline, the sides and the bottom. These are the areas I'm going to go over to the sewing machine and stitch down. If you're a beginner, I always advise that you have a lot of pins. Just look for good pins and buy. Like these ones I use, they are very good. I always make sure to look for it. There are actually fake ones in these pins that are very blunt, but if you can get these right ones, whichever pin you're able to get anyways, just make sure you have pins as a beginner. It helps you make your work actually very neat. Before you sew anything, pin it down. It will help you with a lot actually. So I'm just going to pin this all the way around and go over to the sewing machine and stitch down the areas that I have pinned. So we're going to be stitching the neckline, the side here, and then the bottom and back here as well. This is for the front pattern. Now for the back pattern, I'm just going to also pin down the back pieces with the lining that I cut out as well. So for the back pieces is also the neckline. As you can see, the center back, this side, and then the bottom. So I'll do the same thing for the both pieces. Alright guys, so these are the back pieces that we've stitched down, and you can see I've stitched down the dart area as well. I'm going to use the front to show you guys how to go about the dart. So these are the two pieces. We're going to fix our zipper here. Remember we went in, that's why this area is curved. So yeah, I'm going to remove these back pieces now, and this is the front piece. I've also stitched it all the way around, as you can see, the neckline, the side, and the bottom. So now to get the dart, you're just going to go ahead and fold the fabric into 2 equal halves like this, and I'm just going to kind of press it out a bit so that it stays perfectly. Now once you're through with this, the next thing you want to do is you're going to bring in your tape, and you're going to measure from your shoulder down to like your waist. You can see it's actually easy to spot the waist because of the curve there. Now I'm going to go in from here by half of my nipple to nipple measurement, okay, and then I'm going to go up by about 3 inches. Now this is because I don't want the dart to go all the way above the bust, okay, and then below I'll come down by 5 inches. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just connect these points together with a straight line like this, and then on the waistline I'm going to come out on both sides by half inch, half inch here, half inch here, and I'm just going to connect to the top of each line like this. do the same thing on the bottom part as well. And this is my dart. It's not looking the same, but by the time I fold it in, I just need one side basically. So I'll just fold it into two like this and just go over to the sewing machine and stitch it down and do the exact same thing for the other side. That's going to give me my dart. And you know, on the back pattern, it's exactly the same thing I did. So when I'm done stitching down the dart, what I also want to do is I'm going to be joining my shoulders. So you place your shoulders together for the front and the back, and then you pick one of your lining, like I've done here, one of the lining, bring it over and use it to cover off everything, and then you're going to make a stitch. So for now, I will just pin it down. This method is what I use most of the time. If you check any of my videos where I'm joining shoulders together, I always use this method. But if you don't understand this method, whichever way you go about joining your shoulders, you can just go ahead and use it. Okay, so now I'll just stitch this down. When I'm done stitching it down, when you turn it over, you see that your lining looks neat and the actual fabric area looks neat as well. You don't even need to weave this at all. So I will do the exact same thing for this other side as well, just like I mentioned. So put everything together, use one lining to cover off everything and just make a stitch. All right guys, I am done making my stitch. This is what it looks like. This is the other side, and this is what the back looks like as well on the shoulder. And you can see our dart in front has been stitched down as well. So I've just pinned down the center back with my pins for now. Hold down the center back with my pins for now. So now what I want to do is to work on the sleeves. Now for the sleeves, I've gone ahead to cut out my basic long sleeve. I have a full tutorial on the channel on sleeves. Sleeves actually take a bit of time, so I always just refer you guys back to that tutorial I made on sleeve. So this is a long sleeve, okay? I've already gone ahead to cut it out. Now this is what I'm going to be using to get the flare under. This is just one of it for one sleeve. I'm just going to show you guys how to go about cutting out the flare. So this fabric is folded into 4. This is all the fabric I have left, so I just have to manage it. So I'm going to measure around the end of my sleeve. What I have is 10 inches. So that's what I'm going to be using as the circumference of the circle. So 10 divided by 4, okay? 10 divided by 4 is 2.5. So I'll use 2.5 to create a rough curve on the edge where my flare is supposed to start from. So I made a rough curve and created a point on one side of the curve and measured from that point to the center of this fold, and whatever I got, I use it to create this curve around. So after it was done, I made sure it's still 2.5 inch. And from this first line, I'm going to measure the length of the flare, which I'm marking at 6 inches. So from this first line, I'm just drawing out the length of the flare. I'm just making do with the fabric I have here. Probably I would have liked the length of the flare longer, but I'm just going to make do with what I have because I'm working with a very limited amount of fabric, okay? So once you're done, go ahead and cut out the upper part and then cut out the bottom part as well, like this. And then this is what you have. You can see my little flare. This is just for one sleeve, okay? So I'm going to just use this to cut out the other sleeve as well. Now to do this, just fold the fabric as well into 4. It's just to fold it into 4. Since I've already cut out one, I'm just going to use that one to place on this one and just trace it out. Now these are my 2 sleeves. I will just open up the circle on one edge, okay, and then open up this circle as well on one edge so that it opens up like this, okay. So now what I will do is I will just bring the bottom of my Chantilly lace sleeve and I'm going to place the flare like this. I'm just going to place them right sides facing each other, and I'm just going to pin the flare all the way around and go over to the sewing machine and stitch down the areas that I'm pinning right now. So I'm going to do this for the both sleeves. So you can see what it's even looking like right now, even before we stitch it down. You can see it's already giving the shape. All right guys, I'm done stitching it down and this is what it looks like. I've also gone ahead to stitch to fold the rough edges at the bottom of the sleeve. And this is what we have. Of course, I've done the same thing for the other side as well. So now I'm going to make a notch at the center of this sleeve so that I can go ahead and pin it around the armhole area of this sleeve. So I'll just trim off the excess that I'm seeing here so that everything is looking nice and clean. And then I'm going to go ahead and place my sleeve. So the area where I made a notch would be the area I pinned to the area where we join our shoulder. And from there, I'm just going to go ahead and pin my sleeve all the way around the armhole. So I'm going to go over now and stitch down the areas that I just pinned down, and you know I'll do exactly the same thing for the other sleeve as well. So guys, after I was done stitching it down for the both sides, this is what this one is looking like, and this is the other side as well. I've gone ahead to weave the rough edges so that it looks neat. So now I'm going to turn everything over to the wrong side, and I'm going to be joining the sides. Now to do this, you will need your body measurement. So basically I'm going to be using my body measurement. I'm going to start my stitching from the armhole area. So you just need to arrange the sleeves from the sleeve area, I mean. So you're going to arrange your sleeves and start pinning it down from the sleeve area, just like you see me doing like this. And then when I get to the body part, I'm going to mark my body measurement. My bust is 34, my waist is 26, my hip is 36. So I'm going to mark all of these onto the fabric and then go over to the sewing machine and stitch it down. Alright guys, so after I was done with everything, this is what it looks like. It looks really nice and clean, and you know I've already ironed it out. Now this is the wrong side. Remember, we've not stitched down the wrong side yet. This was the sleeve that we stitched down. This is what it's looking like. Now the center back has not been stitched down, remember. So what I'm going to do is from the bottom of our dress, I'm going up by 1 inch. This is where we're going to be stitching the Ankara part of our dress, okay? So this 1 inch, just take it all the way around from one end of the back through the front and back to the back again. So guys, we're going to now be stitching the Ankara part to the area that I marked around, okay? So what I will first of all do is to measure around this area to be sure how much fabric I need. For me, I did not have enough fabric to work with, so I'm just working with what I have. But you guys need to measure around. What I have is 39. So when you're cutting out your Ankara should be like 2 times of that. For example, mine is 39. Let's take 40 for example. So if you measured around and it's 40 inches, the Ankara should be about 80 inches or even more. It should even be more than that. The longer it is, the more ruffle you will have, okay? Now, I have gone ahead to cut out my Ankara. I'm just using what I have left. And you'll see I weaved the rough edge of my Ankara. Then after that, I came down by 1 inch. I came down by 1 inch and then made a gather stitch. So on this gather stitch is where I'm going to be pulling on, okay? So like I said, the longest part of this Ankara should be at least 2 times of what you measured around. And then the length, for me now, the length is 16 inches because 16 plus 26, which is what I have on the black part, is going to complete the length of this dress to make it 42, which is what I want, okay? So I have the length of this to be 16, and then the breadth, which is the width, the longer part, is it should be at least 80 inches. For example, the measurement I had around was 39, so I have at least 80 inches. So I'm just making do with what I have here. If you have more, just go ahead and use more. The more fabric you have, the more the gathers will look beautiful. So as you can see, I've pulled on all the gathers. I pulled on the gathers until it was long enough to go around the area that we marked earlier. Remember, it was 39, so yeah, this is perfect. This is going to go around the black part of my dress, which is this area that we marked. Okay, so now to stitch it down, we're not going to be sewing from the inside, okay? We're going to be top stitching. So what I will do is to just place that area where we had our allowance, where we stitched it down, this area where we had our gather stitch is exactly where I'm going to be pinning to that white line I marked on the black. I really hope you understand. So you're pinning the area where you had your gather to the line you marked earlier, just like I'm doing like this. I'm going to just pin it all the way around, take it over to the sewing machine and just make a top stitch. So this is the reason why we have not closed up the center back where our zipper is, because we need to do all of this before we close the zipper at the center back. So I'm going to pin this all the way around, making sure that I am pinning it exactly on that white line. So I'm done pinning it around, and as you can see, it looks nice. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch it all the way around. So to stitch this, you're just going to make sure that no fabric is in the way and that you're stitching exactly on that zigzag line, that gather stitch line that you had earlier. So stitch on top of it, but this time around you're making a tight stitch, not a gather stitch. So you're just going to make sure that it's well aligned and it's exactly on that white line. So you must always check to make sure that the stitch you're making is on the white line. So you can just shift your Ankara a bit to make sure that but we've already pinned it down, so just make sure it's always on that white line and you're stitching on the area where you made your gathers. Once you're through, that is basically all for this. I'm just stitching it down now, guys, and this is what it looks like. So you can see we have this gather thing going up and then the other one goes down. It's really very beautiful. It's just a nice way of going about your gathers. So now the last thing we want to do is to turn this over to the wrong side, and we're going to finish up the center back. Now to do this, I told you guys before, we are going to join the center back. So just arrange the center back pieces like you see me doing like this, and I'm just going to go ahead and pin it down. So now guys, it's all pinned down at the center back. So from the neckline area to somewhere around here, I am going to be fixing a zipper. Okay, so I'm going to be making my stitch now from here down to the end of the dress. So from here down, I'll make a tight stitch and then finish up the bottom, and then the upper part I'll fix my zipper. So guys, my tight stitch has been made and you can see what the center back, this area is looking like, and I've folded this bottom part. So now, like I said, the upper part, all I have to do now is to place my zipper, and I'm just going to go ahead and fix it. So I usually use that inner method where I just go in with the zipper like this and then I pin it down and do the same thing on the other side. But if you don't know how to go about this, I think I have a video on the channel already on how to do this. But if you don't know how to, just go ahead and fix a zipper the way you already know how to, and that'll basically be all for the making of this dress. Okay guys, the zipper is fixed now and this is what it looks like, and you can see me when I placed it on the dress form. You can see how beautiful it looks. So yeah, that's basically all for the making of this dress. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next one.